Ta wiped sweat from her forehead as she crouched in the tall blue grass. The two suns of Terra Nova beat down on her back. Through her camera lens, she watched the herd of large animals move across the valley floor. "Subject appears to communicate through whistling sounds," she said into her recorder. "The leader makes 3 short calls, and the others change direction." Fascinating. Ta had been on this planet for 6 months now. As the lead cynobiologist at Research Outpost Horizon 9, she studied the strange animals of this new world. The creatures she watched today were her favorites. They looked like a mix between earth horses and rhinos, with thick gray skin and small trunks. She called them thunder runners because their feet made a rumbling sound when they ran. Her wrist device buzzed. It was a message from Du, the outpost commander. "Ta, return to base immediately. Emergency meeting in 1 hour." Strange. Du never called emergency meetings. Ta packed her equipment quickly and headed back to her rover. The small vehicle hummed as it carried her across the plains toward the human settlement. Horizon 9 was not large, just 50 researchers and support staff living in connected domes. When Tai arrived, she could feel the tension in the air. People rushed around with worried faces. Min, her lab assistant, ran up to her. His eyes were wide. "Ta, did you hear? Alien ships just entered our system." "What?" Ta felt her heart beat faster. In 30 years of space exploration, humans had found only simple life forms, never an advanced alien race. "They're calling themselves the Doma," Min said. "They want to talk." In the meeting room, Du stood at the front, her face serious. Next to her was a man Ta didn't know, tall, with short gray hair and a military uniform. On the screen behind them was an image of several large ships. "Everyone, this is Commander Kyun from Earth Defense," Du said. "He arrived on the fast ship this morning." "Commander, please explain." Kyun nodded. 24 hours ago, these ships entered the Terra Nova system. They sent a message in perfect English, requesting a diplomatic meeting." He pressed a button, and a new image appeared. Ta gasped. On the screen was a creature unlike anything she had studied. It stood tall, with 4 arms and thick, leathery skin. Its head was large, with 3 eyes set in a triangle pattern. "This is their leader," Kyun continued. "He calls himself Vox. From what we understand, the Doma are a warrior race. They have conquered 12 other systems before reaching ours." The room filled with worried whispers. "Why are they here?" someone asked. "They want our planet," Kyun said simply. "And they have requested a diplomatic meeting to discuss terms." "Terms? There are no terms," shouted Jun, the security chief. "This is our planet." Kyun held up his hand. "Earth Command agrees with you, but we are outgunned 10 to 1. We need time while the fleet prepares. That's why we're sending a diplomatic team to meet them." He looked around the room. "We need people who understand this planet, and possibly alien biology. Dr. Ta, your name was recommended." Ta felt everyone's eyes turn to her. "Me? But I study animals, not intelligent aliens." "You understand non-human life forms better than anyone here," Kyun said. "Your insights could be valuable." Du placed a hand on Ta's shoulder. "You don't have to go. It could be dangerous." Tai thought about her thunder runners, about the peaceful valley where they lived, about all the life on this beautiful planet. If these Doma wanted to take Terra Nova, what would happen to everything she had studied? She stood up straighter. "I'll go." "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow morning," Kun replied. "The Doma ship will send a shuttle." That night, Tai couldn't sleep. She looked out her window at the strange stars of Terra Nova. Somewhere up there, an alien race waited, a race that had conquered 12 worlds before this one. Tomorrow, she would face them, and somehow, she would have to help find a way to save this world she had come to love. The Doma shuttle was bigger than Tay expected. It landed on the flat ground outside Horizon 9 with a deep rumble that shook the earth. Ta stood with Commander Kyun and 2 security officers, watching as a door opened in the side of the dark metal craft. "Remember," Kuhn said quietly, "say little and watch everything." Ta nodded, gripping her tablet tightly. Her heart pounded in her chest. 2 alien guards stepped out first. They were tall like the one in the picture, but wore black armor that covered most of their bodies. Each carried what looked like a weapon. Then came Vox. In person, the Doma leader was even more imposing. He stood at least 8 feet tall, his 4 arms moving with odd grace. His skin was a deep blue-gray color, and his 3 eyes blinked at different times. "Humans," he said in his surprisingly clear voice. "I am Vox, war chief of the Doma Collective. You will come to our ship now." No greeting, no pleasantries, just an order. Kuhn stepped forward. "We accept your invitation," he said calmly. "I am Commander Kuhn of Earth Defense, and this is Dr. Tay, our xenobiology expert." Vox's middle eye fixed on Ta. She felt like a bug under a microscope. "A scientist," he said. "Good. You will understand better what is to come." The inside of the shuttle was warm and had a strange smell, like metal and something sweet. As they lifted off, Ta looked out a small window at Horizon 9 growing smaller below. The Doma ship waited in orbit, massive and threatening. Once aboard the mothership, they were led through long hallways to a large room. In the center was a table with strange chairs. On the walls hung what looked like weapons and skins of alien creatures. "Trophies," Kuhn whispered to Ta. "From other worlds." Vox gestured for them to sit. The alien chairs were uncomfortable for humans, but Tay and Kuhn did their best to appear at ease. "Humans," Vox began, "the Doma have claimed this system. Your presence here is noted, but this planet will join our territory." Kuhn's face showed nothing, but Tay saw his hands tighten into fists under the table. "This planet is under Earth protection," Kuhn said. "We have established peaceful settlement here." Vox made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Yes, small settlement. Few weapons. You cannot stop us." "Then why this meeting?" Tay asked suddenly. All eyes turned to her. Vox's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Clever scientist. We could take this world by force, yes. But the Doma have tradition." He pressed something on his wrist. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a window into another room. Inside was a creature that made Ta gasp. It looked like the ancient mammoths from Earth, but larger, with thick plates of natural armor covering its body. Sharp tusks curved from its mouth, and its small eyes looked intelligent and fierce. "The war mammoth," Vox said with pride. "Symbol of Doma might. We settle new territories through combat. One champion against one champion. Winner claims the world." Vox walked to a clear panel separating them from the massive beast. He placed one hand on it and began to whisper. The words were too quiet to hear, but the effect was immediate. The war mammoth turned, focused on Vox, and bowed its huge head. "I can control him with only my voice," Vox said. "Thousands of commands, each unique. The bond between a Doma warrior and his war beast is sacred." He turned back to the humans. "In 7 days, we meet in combat. Bring your best war beast and champion. If you win, we leave. If we win, this planet is ours." Kuhn's face remained calm, but Tai could see the worry in his eyes. "And if we refuse this challenge?" Kuhn asked. All 3 of Vox's eyes narrowed. "Then we take this world now, with no chance for your people." Kuhn stood up straight. "Humans also have proud traditions of combat and training animals. We accept your challenge." Ta stared at him in shock. What was he saying? Humans had no war beasts on Terra Nova. Vox seemed pleased. "Good, 7 days. Prepare your champion." He looked at Ta. "Perhaps your scientists would like to see our war mammoth up close, to understand what you face." Before she could answer, Vox pressed another button. The panel slid away, leaving nothing between them and the massive beast. Ta froze as the war mammoth turned its eyes directly to her. "What were you thinking?" Tai asked once they were back on the shuttle heading to Terranova. Her hands were still shaking after her close encounter with the war mammoth. The beast had simply stared at her, then turned away when Vox whispered something to it. Commander Kuhn looked tired. I bought us time. 7 days is better than nothing. But we don't have any war beasts. We don't have anything that can fight that monster. Kuhn didn't answer. He just stared out the window at the stars. When they returned to Horizon 9, Kuhn called an emergency meeting to explain the situation. The room erupted in panic. We have no chance. We should evacuate now. How can we fight something like that? Commander Du finally restored order. Enough. Panicking won't help. We need ideas. The room fell silent. Then Taz slowly stood up. I might have something, she said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. The Thunder Runners I've been studying. They're large, strong, and smart. Maybe. You think those grass eaters can fight a war mammoth? Jun scoffed. They're not just grass eaters, Tai insisted. They're predators too. I've seen them hunt. They use pack tactics and communicate with those whistling sounds I've been recording. Huon looked interested. How smart are they? Smarter than any animal on Earth. I've been working to understand their whistles. It's a complex language. Ta went to the front of the room and showed her research on the big screen. Pictures of thunder runners flashed by, along with sound wave patterns of their calls. They're about half the size of the war mammoth, but they're faster and more agile. And they work together. Commander Kuhn stood up. Can you communicate with them? Control them like Vox does with his war mammoth? Ta hesitated. Not yet, but I've made progress understanding their calls. With more time. We have 7 days, Kuhn reminded her. From the back of the room, a new voice spoke up. I can help. A small woman with short hair stood up. Tad recognized her as Hannah, one of the engineers. I work with sound technology, Hannah said. If Dr. Ta has recordings of these thunder runners, I might be able to build something to help communicate with them. Kuhn looked at them both. Do you really think this could work? Tai thought about the war mammoth, how it responded to Vox's whispers. Then she thought about the thunder runners, how they moved together, responding to their leader's calls. It's our best chance, she said. Then you have my authorization. Kuhn decided. Dr. Tay, Engineer Hannah, you have 6 days to find and train a thunder runner. Day 7 is for the challenge. The next morning, Tai took Hannah to her research site. They rode in silence, both lost in thought about the enormous task ahead. There, Ta pointed as they crested a hill. Below them, a herd of 30 thunder runners grazed in the blue grass. Their gray skin glistened in the morning light, and their small trunks swayed as they ate. They're beautiful, Hannah whispered. Watch, Ta said. As if on cue, the lead thunder runner raised its head and made 3 sharp whistles. Immediately, the entire herd moved in perfect formation to another grazing spot. How do they do that? Hannah asked. That's what we need to figure out, Tai replied. She took out her recording equipment and showed Hannah her work. I've identified 47 distinct calls so far. They mean different things. Danger, food, move, stop. Hannah studied the sound waves on Ta's tablet. These are complex patterns. If I could replicate them. She reached into her bag and pulled out a strange device. It looked like a metal flute with multiple chambers. I worked on this all night, Hannah explained. It's a multi-tone whistle. If your recordings are accurate, we might be able to use this to make sounds the thunder runners will understand. Tay took the device carefully. And you think they'll respond to humans using it? Hannah shrugged. Only one way to find out. Ta looked at the herd below, then at the whistle in her hand. Could these creatures really help them save Terranova? Could she learn to communicate with them in just 6 days? She thought of the war mammoth and how Vox controlled it with whispers. These thunder runners responded to whistles. Let's try, she said, raising the whistle to her lips. For 3 days, Ty and Hannah tried to communicate with the Thunder Runners. Each morning, they went to the valley with Hannah's whistle and Ta's recordings. Each evening, they returned to the base tired and disappointed. The Thunder Runners watched them from a distance, but never came close. When Ty used the whistle, they just tilted their heads and moved away. On the fourth day, Commander Kuhn joined them. 3 days left, he said as they drove to the valley. Any progress? Ta shook her head. They hear us, but they don't understand. Or maybe they don't trust us. We've adjusted the whistle twice, Hannah added. The sounds are almost perfect matches to their natural calls now. When they reached the valley, the herd was closer to the hills than usual. Kuhn watched through binoculars as Ty and Hannah set up their equipment. Which one would be best for the challenge? He asked. Ta pointed to a Thunder Runner slightly larger than the others. It had a scar across its front leg. That one. I call him Sun. He's strong and seems smarter than the others. He watches us the most. Ty raised the whistle to her lips and blew a series of notes. The sound echoed across the valley. The Thunder Runners looked up, but didn't respond. Let me try again, she said, adjusting the whistle slightly. But before she could blow, a loud boom shook the air. All 3 humans jumped. In the distance, dark clouds gathered. Storm coming, Kuhn said. Maybe we should head back. Wait, said Ta. Look at the herd. The Thunder Runners were moving quickly now, grouping together as the storm approached. Sun, the one with the scar, was making short, sharp whistles. The others followed his lead, moving toward the shelter of the hills. They're afraid of storms, Hannah realized. Something clicked in Ta's mind. She had been trying to copy the sounds perfectly, but maybe it wasn't just about the sound. Maybe it was about what the sound meant. She raised the whistle again, but this time, before blowing, she thought about safety, about protection, about moving away from danger. The whistle she blew wasn't perfect. It wasn't an exact copy of the Thunder Runner's calls, but it carried her feelings, her intent. Sun stopped. His head turned toward them. He made a soft sound, almost like a question. It's working, Hannah whispered excitedly. Ta blew again, thinking about safety in the hills, about shelter from the storm. She pointed toward a cave she knew was nearby. Sun whistled back, then started moving in the direction she had pointed. 3 other Thunder Runners followed him. He understood you, Kuhn said, amazement in his voice. How did you do that? It's not just the sound, Ty explained, her eyes bright with discovery. It's the feeling behind it. They don't just communicate with whistles. They share emotions, intentions. The sky grew darker as the storm approached. Rain began to fall in heavy drops. We should get to shelter, Kuhn said. They hurried toward their rover, but suddenly Ty stopped. Sun and his small group were standing just 50 feet away, watching them. What is he doing? Hannah asked. I think. Ta started, then took a deep breath. She blew a new pattern on the whistle, thinking about meeting, about coming together in the face of danger. To everyone's surprise, Sun moved closer. He stopped about 10 feet away, his intelligent eyes fixed on Ta. Slowly, carefully, Ta stepped forward, her hand extended. The rain fell harder around them, but neither moved. When her hand was just inches from Sun's trunk, she stopped. She would not touch him without permission. Sun made a soft whistling sound, then gently extended his trunk and touched her hand. Amazing, Kun breathed. Thunder crashed overhead. Sun whistled again, then turned and started walking toward the cave. He stopped after a few steps and looked back at them. He wants us to follow him, Ta said. He's offering us shelter. As they followed the Thunder Runner toward the cave, Kuhn spoke quietly to Ta. This isn't control like what Vox has. This is something different. Ta nodded. This is partnership, and it might be our greatest strength. The next morning, Ta woke early. She had spent the night in the research outpost near the valley, wanting to stay close to Sun. When she stepped outside, she found the Thunder Runner waiting for her. "Good morning," she said softly. Sun made a gentle whistling sound in reply. Ta smiled and raised Hannah's whistle to her lips. She blew a greeting pattern, focusing on feelings of friendship and trust. Sun moved closer and lowered his head. Carefully, Tai reached out and touched the rough skin between his eyes. A connection that would have taken months to build had formed in just one day. "We're making progress," Hannah said, joining Tai outside. But can he fight? It was the question they had all been avoiding. Sun was intelligent and strong, but the war mammoth was bigger, with thick armor and sharp tusks. "Let's find out what he can do," Ta suggested. They spent the morning watching Sun interact with his small group. There were 4 Thunder Runners who had separated from the main herd to stay with him. They seemed to accept Tai and Hannah's presence now. Tai took careful notes on her tablet. "Look at how they move together," she said. "When Sun gives a command, they respond instantly." They watched as Sun led his group in what looked like a hunting drill. The Thunder Runners moved with surprising speed, cutting and turning sharply. When Sun whistled a high, piercing note, 2 of his companions charged at a fallen tree, hitting it hard enough to crack the trunk. "That's impressive strength," Hannah said. "And look at their front legs," Ta pointed. "Those hooves are sharp. They could do damage." A rover approached from the direction of Horizon 9. Commander Kyun stepped out, and he wasn't alone. A tall woman with a stern face walked with him. "Dr. Tae, Engineer Hana," Kyun said. "This is Commander Jin. She arrived from Earth this morning." Jin didn't smile. "Show me this animal you think can save our colony." Ta didn't like her tone, but she motioned toward Sun. "This is Sun. He's the one we've been working with." Jin studied the Thunder Runner with cold eyes. "It looks smaller than the war mammoth from your report." "He is," Tai admitted, "but he's faster and smarter." "Smart doesn't win fights," Jin said. "Power does. The Doma are testing us with this challenge. If we fail, they'll attack anyway." Tai felt a chill. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying Earth defense is preparing for war," Jin replied. "The fleet is on its way, but they won't arrive for 10 days. If your animal fails, we need to be ready to fight." Kyun looked troubled. "Fighting would cost many lives on both sides." "Better than losing our colony," Jin snapped. She turned to Ta. "You have 2 days left. Make them count." After Jin walked back to the rover, Kyun spoke quietly. "She's right about one thing. We need to prepare Sun for combat. Do you think he understands what's coming?" Todd wasn't sure. How could she explain to Sun that he needed to fight a monster to save humans? "I have an idea," Hannah said suddenly. She pulled out her tablet and showed them a design. "I've been working on an improved whistle. It has more chambers and can make more complex sounds." "Will it help?" Kyun asked. "It might. If Tai can communicate better with Sun, maybe she can help him understand the challenge." That afternoon, they tested Hannah's new whistle. It could make 3 distinct tones at once, creating patterns much closer to the Thunder Runner's natural language. Sun responded immediately to the new sounds. He seemed excited, whistling back complex patterns that Tai struggled to understand. "I think it's working," she said, "but we need more time." "Time is something we don't have," Kyun reminded her. "The challenge is the day after tomorrow." That evening, as the sun set over Terra Nova, Tai sat alone with Sun. She used the new whistle to tell him simple ideas. Friend, danger, fight. Each time, Sun responded with whistles of his own. "I wish I knew if you really understand," she said quietly. Sun moved closer and gently pressed his head against her shoulder. It was such a human gesture of comfort that Tai felt tears in her eyes. "Tomorrow we train," she whispered, "and the next day we face the war mammoth. I hope you're ready, my friend. All our lives depend on it." On the day before the challenge, Tai woke with the first light. Her dreams had been filled with war mammoths and worried faces. When she stepped outside, Sun and his 4 companions were waiting. "Good morning," she said, reaching for her whistle. But before she could use it, Sun made a series of soft calls. To her surprise, all 5 thunder runners moved in perfect sync, forming a circle around her. "What are they doing?" Hannah asked, joining Tai outside. "I'm not sure," Tai replied. Sun whistled again, and one by one, each thunder runner moved in the same pattern: forward, left, right, then back to position. It looked like they were showing her something. "It's almost like," Ta began. "Like they're practicing," Hannah finished. "But how do they all know what to do?" Ta watched carefully as Sun repeated his call. The other thunder runners moved in perfect time with each other, though Sun wasn't looking at them. Then it hit her. "Hannah, record this," Ta said excitedly. "I need to see the sound patterns." Hannah quickly set up her equipment and captured Sun's calls. When they looked at the results on her tablet, Ta gasped. "See these frequencies?" She pointed to lines on the screen. "They're outside normal hearing range. Sun is sending information we can't hear." "Like a hidden signal?" Hannah asked. "Yes. The whistles we hear are just part of it. There are ultrasonic tones that carry more complex commands." Tay's mind raced with the possibilities. That's how the herd stays so coordinated. They're sharing information constantly through these hidden frequencies. "Can we use this?" Hannah wondered. "If I could learn to use these frequencies," Ta began. She was interrupted by the arrival of 2 rovers. Commander Kyun stepped out of one, Commander Jin from the other. Jin's face looked even more serious than before. "Time for a final assessment," Jin announced. "Show me what this animal can do." Tai explained her discovery about the hidden frequencies. "With this knowledge, we might be able to." "Might isn't good enough," Jin interrupted. "The challenge is tomorrow." The Doma ship just sent a message confirming the time and place. Kyun looked at Sun with doubt in his eyes. "Dr. Tay, be honest. Can he win against the war mammoth?" Ta hesitated. Sun was fast and smart, but the war mammoth was built for fighting. "I believe in him," she said finally, "but there's something else we should consider." She pointed to the other 4 thunder runners. "They work as a team. What if we used all 5? Jin shook her head. "The Doma said 1 champion against 1 champion. 1 beast against 1 beast. But what if they're not separate beasts?" Tai argued. "What if they're a network? A single entity that shares thoughts?" Jin looked skeptical. "That's not how the Doma will see it." "We should stick to the rules," Kyun agreed. 1 thunder runner against the war mammoth. As they argued, Hannah was studying her readings. "Ta," she said suddenly, "look at this." On her tablet was a pattern of sound waves unlike anything they had seen before. "What is it?" Tai asked. "It's from Sun, but it's being repeated by the others, like they're sharing his thoughts." Tai felt a chill of excitement. "A hive mind," she whispered. "They're connected." Commander Jin had been listening. "If that's true," she said slowly, "we could use it to our advantage. We could program multiple commands and responses." "Program." Ta didn't like that word. "We're not programming them. We're communicating with them." "Whatever you want to call it," Jin said dismissively. "If they can be controlled as a group, we have a better chance tomorrow." "They're not machines," Tai insisted. "They're living beings with their own minds." Jin's eyes narrowed. "Don't forget what's at stake, Doctor. This isn't about animal rights. It's about survival." That night, after everyone else had gone to bed, Tai sat alone with Sun under the stars. The whistle felt heavy in her hand. "What's right?" she asked quietly. "Should I ask you to risk your life for us? Do you even understand what that means?" Sun made a soft sound and moved closer. Ta thought about what Jin had said about programming, about controlling, about seeing Sun as a weapon. "I won't do that to you," she decided. "Whatever happens tomorrow, it will be your choice." She raised the whistle to her lips and blew a pattern filled with her feelings, respect, friendship, and a question. Sun whistled back, and though Tai couldn't understand all of his language, she felt his answer in her heart. They would face tomorrow together. The day of the challenge arrived with clear skies and a warm wind. The Doma had chosen a flat plain 5 miles from Horizon 9 for the battle. When Tai arrived with Sun, she saw that the aliens had built a large circle of metal posts marking the fighting area. Hundreds of Doma had come down from their ships to watch. They stood tall and silent around the circle. Among the aliens were the nervous humans from the research base, looking small and afraid. Commander Kuhn met Tai at the edge of the circle. "Are you ready?" he asked quietly. Ta nodded, though her heart was racing. "As ready as we can be." She looked at Sun standing calmly beside her. The Thunder Runner seemed to sense the importance of the day. His eyes were alert, watching everything. "Remember," Kuhn said, "you don't need to win. Just fight well enough that the Doma respect our strength. Buy time for the fleet to arrive." Commander Jin approached, her face tense. "The Doma leader is coming." Across the circle, Vox appeared with 4 other large aliens. Behind them came the war mammoth. In the daylight, the beast looked even more fearsome than Tay remembered. Its armored skin gleamed in the sun, and its tusks curved sharp and deadly. The Doma around the circle made deep rumbling sounds, their version of cheering. Vox stepped into the center. "Humans," his voice boomed. "Today we settle the fate of this world through combat, as is our tradition." He looked at Sun with all 3 of his eyes. "This is your champion, this small creature." Some of the Doma made sounds that might have been laughter. Tai felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her face calm. "Let them underestimate Sun. It might be an advantage." "This is our champion," she said clearly. Vox turned to his war mammoth and began to whisper. The massive beast lowered its head, its small eyes fixed on Sun. "Prepare your beast," Vox commanded. "The challenge begins when I give the signal." Ta knelt beside Sun. "I won't tell you what to do," she said softly. "I trust you." She raised the whistle to her lips and blew a pattern that meant friend and danger together. Sun whistled back, a sound that seemed to say he understood. Ta stepped back to join Kyun and Jin at the edge of the circle. Her hands were shaking, but she kept her head high. "Why didn't you give it fighting commands?" Jin demanded. "Because this isn't about commands," Tai replied. "It's about trust." Vox raised all 4 of his arms. "Let the challenge begin," he shouted. The war mammoth charged forward with surprising speed for its size. The ground shook with each step. Its tusks lowered like spears, aiming straight for Sun. The Thunder Runner stood his ground, watching the approaching monster with careful eyes. "Move," Ta whispered, though she knew Sun couldn't hear her. At the last possible moment, Sun darted to the side. The war mammoth thundered past, missing by inches. Sun whistled sharply, not a sound of fear, but what seemed like a message. Tay realized that Sun's 4 companions, though outside the circle, could still hear his ultrasonic calls. They were watching intently from a distance. The war mammoth turned, angry now. Vox was whispering rapidly, and the beast responded with a new attack pattern, swinging its heavy head from side to side. Sun moved with grace, always just beyond reach of the deadly tusks. He seemed to be studying his opponent, learning its patterns. "What is it doing?" Jin asked. "It needs to attack, not just dodge." "He's being smart," Ta said, learning the war mammoth's weaknesses. The crowd of Doma grew restless. They had expected a quick victory, not this dance of patience. Vox's whispers became louder, more urgent. The war mammoth roared and charged again. This time, Sun didn't just dodge. As the larger beast passed, Sun struck out with his sharp front hooves, connecting with the war mammoth's leg. A cheer went up from the humans. First blood had been drawn. The war mammoth turned, rage in its eyes. Vox was no longer whispering. He was shouting commands. "He's losing control," Kyun observed. "The war mammoth is acting on anger now, not discipline." Ta gripped her whistle tightly. Should she help Sun? Give him guidance? Then she remembered their silent agreement from the night before. This was Sun's fight, his choice. Trust him, she told herself. Just trust him. The war mammoth was angry now. It pawed the ground and shook its massive head. The cut on its leg was small, but it seemed to hurt its pride more than its body. Vox shouted another command. This time, instead of charging straight ahead, the war mammoth began to circle. It was trying to trap Sun against the edge of the fighting ring. Sun stayed calm. He moved in a smaller circle, keeping space between himself and the larger beast. His eyes never left his opponent. Smart, Kun murmured. He's not falling for the trap. The war mammoth suddenly changed direction and charge. This time, Sun wasn't quite fast enough. The mammoth's tusk grazed his side, leaving a thin red line. Ta gasped. The humans around her grew quiet with worry. But Sun didn't panic. He whistled softly, a sound too quiet for most to hear. Ta noticed his 4 companions outside the ring shift position slightly, spreading out around the circle. The war mammoth attacked again. This time, Sun did something unexpected. Instead of running away, he ran toward the giant beast. At the last second, he ducked under the swinging tusks and darted between the mammoth's legs. The war mammoth stopped, confused. It turned in a circle, looking for its smaller opponent. Sun used this moment to strike again, hitting the back of the mammoth's leg with his sharp hooves. The war mammoth roared in pain. It spun around faster than seemed possible for its size. Watch out! Ta couldn't stop herself from shouting. Sun jumped back, but not fast enough. The mammoth's tusk caught him squarely in the shoulder. Sun stumbled and fell to the ground. The Doma cheered. Vox smiled with all 3 of his eyes. Get up, Ta whispered. Please get up. For a terrible moment, Sun lay still. The war mammoth prepared to charge again, ready to finish the fight. Ta raised her whistle without thinking. She blew a pattern that meant danger and friend, and together. Sun's head lifted. He looked directly at Ta, then at the charging war mammoth. With a burst of speed that surprised everyone, he rolled to the side just as the mammoth reached him. The mammoth couldn't stop its charge. It crashed into one of the metal posts marking the ring. The post bent under its weight. Now Sun did something truly surprising. He whistled a long, complex pattern, not to Ta, but to his companions outside the ring. All 4 Thunder Runners answered with whistles of their own. They didn't enter the ring, but they positioned themselves around the outside, each one whistling in turn. The war mammoth turned in circles, confused by the sounds coming from all directions. What's happening? Jin asked. They're helping him, Tay realized. They're using their hive mind. Sun stood tall now, despite his injured shoulder. He whistled again, and his companions answered. The war mammoth shook its head, as if trying to clear it. Vox was shouting commands, but the war mammoth didn't seem to hear him anymore. It was distracted by the whistles coming from all sides. Sun took advantage of this confusion. He charged directly at the mammoth, but instead of attacking, he ran past it, so close that the mammoth turned to follow. And that was the trap. The mammoth turned too quickly, its huge body off balance. It stumbled on its injured leg and crashed to the ground with an earth-shaking thud. Before it could rise, Sun was on its back. He placed his sharp hooves against the mammoth's neck, not cutting, but showing that he could. The mammoth lay still. It knew it was beaten. The battlefield went silent. No human or Doma made a sound. Sun whistled once more, a clear, victorious sound. He stepped off the mammoth's back and walked calmly to the edge of the ring where Ta waited. The war mammoth slowly got to its feet. It looked at Sun, then lowered its head in what seemed like respect. Vox's face showed shock and anger. He raised his voice. This cannot be. That small beast could not defeat my war mammoth. Commander Kyun stepped forward. But it did. We have won the challenge. The agreement was clear. The Doma warriors looked to their leader. What would Vox do now? Would he keep his word? For a long moment, no one moved. The humans held their breath. The Doma warriors waited for their leader's decision. Vox stared at his defeated war mammoth, then at Sun. His three eyes blinked in sequence. Finally, he turned to face Commander Kuhn. "The human beast has won," he said, his voice low and controlled. "I did not think it possible." He raised all four of his arms. "Doma honor our agreements. This world remains with humans." A collective sigh of relief passed through the human observers. Ta knelt beside Sun and gently examined his injured shoulder. The cut wasn't deep. "You did it," she whispered. "You saved us all." Sun made a soft whistling sound. His four companions moved closer, surrounding him protectively. The Doma began to leave the battlefield, returning to their ships. Vox remained, watching Ta with Sun. "Your beast," he said suddenly. "It fights differently than any creature we have faced." Ta stood up. "Sun isn't just a beast. He's a partner." Vox tilted his large head. "The war mammoth is the greatest fighting animal in 12 systems. How did your creature defeat it?" Tai thought carefully about her answer. "The war mammoth fights alone, following orders. Sun fought with friends helping him. And he fought for himself, not just because I told him to." Vox stepped closer, looking down at Ta. "I do not understand." "You control your war mammoth," Ta explained. "I trust Sun." Something changed in Vox's three eyes. "Show me," he said. Tai raised her whistle and blew a pattern that meant friend and trust. Sun whistled back. He was telling his companions that everything was all right. Vox watched this exchange with interest. Then he walked to his war mammoth. The giant beast was standing with its head low, still ashamed of its defeat. Vox began to whisper to it, but something was different now. His voice was gentler. The war mammoth raised its head slightly. After a moment, Vox returned to Ta. "For 10,000 years, the Doma have trained war beasts through control and fear," he said. "Perhaps there is another way." Commander Kuhn joined them. "Does this mean the Doma will leave our world in peace?" "Yes," Vox confirmed. "But perhaps we might return someday, not as conquerors, but as—" he seemed to search for the right word, "as visitors, to learn more about your ways with animals." Commander Jin approached, relief clear on her face. "The Earth fleet will stand down. This is a victory worth celebrating." As the humans and Doma prepared to leave the battlefield, Vox turned to Ta one last time. "There is something I must ask," he said. "A question that has been in my mind since the battle began." Ta nodded. "What is it?" Vox looked at his war mammoth, then at Sun. "I whispered to my war mammoth. What did you do with yours?" Ta smiled. "I just whistled for mine." "But the whistles," Vox pressed. "They are commands." "No," Ta said. "They're conversations. I ask, and Sun decides if he wants to help. Today he chose to help us all." Vox was quiet for a long moment. "The Doma have much to learn," he finally said. 3 days later, the Doma ships left Terra Nova's orbit. The humans of Horizon 9 celebrated their unexpected victory. Commander Jin returned to Earth to report what had happened. Tai didn't join the celebrations. Instead, she sat on a hillside watching Sun and his Thunder Runners move across the valley below. Hannah found her there as the suns were setting. "What will you do now?" Hannah asked, sitting beside her friend. "Keep learning," Tai replied. "There's so much more to understand about the Thunder Runners, about how they think and communicate." Hannah nodded. "You changed how we see them, not as tools or weapons, but as partners. And maybe changed how the Doma see the universe too," Tai added. In the valley below, Sun raised his head and whistled. The sound carried across the plain, not a command, but an invitation. Ta smiled and lifted her own whistle in response. Two different species, finding a way to understand each other. It wasn't about control or power. It was about trust and respect. That was humanity's greatest strength, and the lesson even the mighty Doma had to learn.